Yo, what is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to the show. It is finally here. The regular season is on our doorstep. You gotta love it, man. First game Thursday Night Football between the Chiefs and the Lions. And I'm doing something a little different this year because I know you guys know I love my consistency rates where I chart them up, boom or bust in type category. That's what we're talking today. Boom or bust for week one on the consistency, making my predictions on where these players could potentially boom or bust. This week, I got start sit coming at the end of the week for y'all as well, just to get you ready. If you have those, questions you need answered, I'll hopefully answer them for you. But for these guys, I got a bunch of them. I got 12 players on the board, talking running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends that could potentially boom or bust for us this week. First one I got is Najee Harris going up against those San Francisco 49ers. And I mean, even though I'm firm on the Najee train this year, have been all off season, this is a tough matchup. And I mean, it could be tough sledding for a Najee Harris. However, I'm going to play him in most cases this week, barring any other, running back, trio that you may potentially have on your fantasy roster. Najee still is an RB1 that will obtain volume. Okay. But I mean, I'm going to play it safe because this could be a bust game if he does not find his way into the end zone. So I mean, he could definitely go over that threshold point mark where we do count it as a boom game, but I'm playing it safe this week. I'll call Najee a bust, even though I'll probably still play him this week because it's too hard to put on your bench. Alexander Mattison going against those Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I mean, okay, the Bucs still have a decent run defense. I mean, the Vikes should be, quite pass happy this year with Jordan Addison and JJ and TJ Hawkinson. They're going to likely shoot up the board in the pass game. Mattison might not have to strain himself, and he could, trying to do too much, and he could find himself in the end zone a couple times. I do like Mattison in this offense. It's no different than a Dalvin Cook outside of skill set overall, being elite to very good in that respect, for Dalvin versus a Mattison. But I mean, points should fly. I mean, I don't think this Buccaneers team is going to be very good offensively, which will put some strain on that defense. Points should definitely fly. Calling it a boom for Matty in week one. Dalvin Cook, next one on my board versus these Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. And I mean, what a dandy it's going to be versus the Buffalo Bills. Everybody's getting on the Jets bandwagon because they got Aaron Rodgers and Dalvin Cook and Garrett Wilson. And I mean, the Bills apparently are garbage to everybody nowadays, and that's totally fine with me, man. But I mean, with Breece Hall still coming back from the ACL, the Jets hedge betting with Dalvin Cook, hopefully to ride him early in the season as they continue to get Breece Hall healthy from the ACL. Last time Dalvin played these Buffalo Bills, he had a great contest, and Dalvin is no slouch. He is definitely not done. He's got a lot of tread left on these tires. He should provide points against the Buffalo Bills with Aaron Rodgers and a defense versus the run that is still maybe suspect for the Buffalo Bills. Let's call a boom game for Dalvin Cook here in week one. You drafted him for a reason, and this week it's time to play him because later stages in the season, you may not get favorable matchups. James Conner versus the Washington Commanders, the Commies. I mean, the Cardinals are the bottom heap of the league right now. They're talking tank for Caleb, potentially getting rid of Kyler Murray. Who's going to be starting this week? Rookie Toon or Dobbs? I mean, who's starting the quarterback this week one? And you're going up against the Washington Commanders team, the Commies, who have a great defensive front. And I mean, Connor's going to have to be utilized heavily, so the volume will be key. But how good is he going to run in this offense? Garbage time productivity is the only thing that's going to save you in this week for James Conner. I am not touching the cards this week. I'm calling bust game for a James Conner this week. Wide receivers, Christian Kirk going up against these Indianapolis Colts. All the chatter with Calvin Ridley, and myself included, love me some Calvin Ridley all off season. He is going to provide this offense with that extra elixir that everybody is looking for. But Christian Kirk has a great shot to be the big play guy once again in this offense, seeing lesser coverage, man. So the efficiency rates will absolutely go up the board for a Christian Kirk this year, while Calvin Ridley is going to be utilized as the alpha wide receiver one. The Colts seem like they're in disarray on defense, on offense. No JT. Who knows what's going to happen? Kirk should find the end zone in this contest with a boom game. Chemistry is number one with a Trevor Lawrence. If things don't go well early on with him and Calvin Ridley, Lawrence and Calvin Ridley, I think he's going to go back to the well, and Christian Kirk could find himself targeted heavily in that second half for a nice boom contest, man. Jahan Dotson going up against those lowly Arizona Cardinals. I haven't been shy in promoting Jahan Dotson all off season. I mean, Scary Terry McLaurin might be a possible miss this week due to that toe injury. We're still waiting for news to confirm that. Sam Howell has been looking the part all off season as that franchise passer thus far. Dotson should go off in a very big way, especially if Terry is not on the field. Boom time all the way here for Jahan Dotson. Excuse me. Love me some Jahan, man. Chris Olave, CO2, my guy. I mean, he's ready to show the league that he is that alpha wide receiver. All the talk with Garrett Wilson, completely understand. Wilson is that dog, but so is my guy, Chris Olave. You gotta love it. Titans defense is still very good overall, but I mean, with Michael Thomas back, Derek Carr throwing the ball, we could easily see CO2 crack that 1,100-plus yard mark this season, and it starts week 1 at home versus these Tennessee Titans. I mean, the Titans are in that last little stage of who are they as a team. I got boom time all day for CO2 because he is just too damn good and he's so fun to watch. Love this man's game. Next one I got is Michael Pittman versus these Jacksonville Jaguars. And as much as I like Pittman, I mean, he's an absolute supreme talent in this league. One of the better youthful wide receivers that will showcase his talent. I just need to see this offense in action first with this new regime before I actually preach the good graces of a Michael Pittman. I called him probably one of the riskier bust plays this entire season, because this offense, we don't know what it's going to be with a rookie quarterback, Anthony Richardson, facing a Jags team, especially here in week 1, who can bring the heat versus a quarterback with the best of them in this league. We may be also waiting for a lot of garbage time productivity for a Michael Pittman here. I mean, to save his day, which is very possible. But I mean, I'm not waiting and stretching out the entire 4 quarters to wait for this man. I'm calling it a bust for Pittman this week. Until further notice, we will see if he starts climbing back up my board. But as of now, there's too many questions that I need to answer before I can promote this man's services. Tight end Juwan Johnson versus these Tennessee Titans. I mean, like the Saints. I mean, like I'm talking, I should say, about Chris Olave. Johnson did look the part last year and should pick up where he left off this past season. But Michael Thomas returning should drop some target share and drop the stock of Juwan just a little bit more. While Carr, we know he's no stranger to feeding the tight ends like he did with Darren Waller back with the Las Vegas Raiders. It changed a little bit when, Devontae Adams came to town and he saw like 200 targets this past year, even though they traded Darren Waller. But there was obviously, an issue with how much ball was going around. Juwan Johnson will have his days. I'm going to say this week they want to test it out with Chris Olave and Michael Thomas to see what it's going to be. And Johnson, for me, I'm going to put him in the bust category this week as my prediction for the books for week 1. Darren Waller, next one on my list versus those Dallas Cowboys. Speaking of Darren Waller, I've been promoting this man all off season long. Looks so good with these New York Giants. Danny Pennies, he's just been feeding the man on the regular this offseason, barring health. This is the biggest issue we got for a Darren Waller. Can he stay on the field? Will he stay on the field? This one is the biggest question mark that we have in New York. If he does, we know he's the true elite talent at the tight end spot. He caught like 15 balls that one game with Derek Carr a couple years back. The Giants also not having that, true go-to wide receiver alpha guy right now. We'll see. Waller should be that guy that could be leaned upon in this offense, as many targets as he can possibly handle. Hopefully it doesn't get him injured in the making, but I'm calling massive boom game versus Dallas Cowboys here in week 1. Kyle Pitts on my board. And you guys, what do you think of Kyle Pitts? Because I'm kind of lukewarm overall for the potential of his entirety of the season. But I think coming out the gates versus Carolina Panthers, I was waiting to see what he was going to look like if he's coming off the injury. If he does look good, he looked okay. He looked healthy enough for me to say, yes, we can absolutely trust Kyle Pitts in certain matchups. I got no complaints today. Yes, Desmond Ridder, he's still a raw quarterback talent that is going to have his struggles. There is no question. Thrust into the Wolves versus these Carolina Panthers, who still possess a good defense, but Bijan Robinson is going to be that X factor to keep pace of this game, make it a little bit better for this wide receiver core and Kyle Pitts. Pitts should be and act as that safety blanket for a Desmond Ridder. So I do believe a boom's going to come. This is a little bit risky, but I do believe that Pitts will start the season off on the high note, get everybody back in the good graces, and then we'll see how the rest of the year goes on. But I don't mind this. Again, garbage time might be here also, but I do like the fact that Kyle Pitts looked healthy and looked ready to go. I'm calling it a boom this week. Cole Kmet versus Green Bay Packers. It's interesting what's going on in Chicago. All the chatter going on with Justin Fields and the 4,000-yard potential season, being the first quarterback in Chicago Bears history to reach that mark. He's trying. He wants to get it, man. The Bears will want to, try out their new toy in DJ Moore. We know this is going to happen. It's going to be a force feeding of DJ Moore early on in this season. I mean, spreading the ball around to all the other wide receivers like a Darnell Mooney, a Chase Claypool potentially, get the running backs in the mix. This offense should be a lot better than what it was this past season with a Justin Fields with more maturity. But Kmet's going to have to make the most of all of his targets to come his way, I think, in week one as they try to, flirt with all the weapons that they do have on this offense now to give Justin Fields the opportunity to win this ball game versus these Green Bay Packers. Packers D is still very good. I'm thinking it is a bust game for Cole Kmet this week. We'll see how it does continue to move forward because he should have a role consistently, especially in that red zone. But Cole Kmet this week, I'm going to have to call it as a bust. But there you have it. That is my Boomer Bust 12 player targets this week. And again, like I said, it's just interesting because once you see the consistency rates actually pan out on your graph, on my graph, I should say, you start to see the trends work in your favor for fantasy football. I will be dropping, like I said, week one start sit by the end of the week to get y'all ready for some football. I love it all day long, but nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts. What are y'all thinking of this list? Who are you guys putting as boom and bust? Throw them in the comments. We can definitely talk it out. But we'll see you next time. I am out.